Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, thank you very much to Dr. Nur Faria for inviting me to grace this event day. And I hope it's not too late to wish everybody Selamat Hari Raya. Okay, I'm, as per the MC rightly mentioned, I'm from the logistics industry. I've been in the industry since 1999, before the new millennium. So, as a veteran in logistics, I'd like to ask all of you, do you know what's the difference between transport and logistics? I mean, you heard what is every day, but what's the difference? Transport and logistics. So basically, I'll answer for you, don't worry. So transport is basically getting from point A to point B. So basically, this morning, before you come here, start your day from wherever you are, point A to point B, here in Tangram. So that's transport. So what is logistics?
How to get?
Logistics is actually a wider part of the transport. Now, so imagine iPhone has a factory in China. Okay? iPhone has a factory in China, so they need to move this phone from their factory in China to Malaysia. Okay? So there's a Apple store in TLX. How does that movement from the factory in China to TLX? So the whole process of movement from the factory to TLX is logistics. So it consists of truck picking up the whole container from the factory in China to Shanghai port. So at the Shanghai port, they need to do some freight forwarding clearance. They need to clear that cargo. And then somebody needs to book a ship because it needs to be transported from one point, from Shanghai to Port Klang. So the ship movement, also point A to point B, so the transport. So from Port Klang, as we arrive in Port Klang, somebody needs to clear the cargo. So this freight forwarders are clearing the cargo, and we need to book a truck from Port Klang to TRX. So that is logistics. So it's a cumulative of transport from various modes of transport, road, rail, sea and air, to the final destination. That is transport. Okay, now you know what transport, now you know what logistics. But what is supply chain? Have you heard of supply chain before? What the hell is supply chain? Pardon my English. So, supply chain is basically the wider part of logistics. Remember when I said about logistics, the factory in China, the iPhone factory in China. Who brings these raw materials from all the sites to the factory in China? So this is beyond logistics. It starts from the mine. If it's halal, we call it from farm to fork. So the movement from the farm, the first until the fork before you eat. So in this iPhone case, you need to move from all the raw materials or the aluminum mines or the electronic mines coming to the factory, make that iPhone and bring it here. Okay, when it reaches the RX, sometimes it needs to arrive to the buyer, to the user, not you and me. So that is the last mile. So from TRX, you need to go to the end user from buying the phone. That is the last mile. And so what we're going to talk about today is the last mile is breaking down. So we understand now what is the first mile, the movement, and what is the last mile. So the last mile is all about talking the movement, and the last mile is being told at the worst possible in terms of climate. It's the worst pollution, and it's also worse to the drivers because they are not being treated that well, and probably not being treated being paid well as well. And this time because of the oil crisis, so the cost is higher but they still repeat the same. So that is something that we need to find out of today. So the last one can be the most inefficient, most political, but the most human part of the supply chain. Next. So how to move from the efficiency, the logistics, to the compassionate. So these are my three main points. First, you need to be clean. You need to be environmental friendly. Yeah? I'm going to try to address that in this session. And then you need to be fair. Fair for the buyer, fair for the seller, yeah? And fair also to the people who involved in the logistics industry. And last but not least, we try to make this business more human. Yeah? It's not just movement of cargo, they also need to be more human. Okay? Next please. So how does it work? The most environmental friendly movement, the mode of transport is ship. Why I say ship? Because every ship they have one pollutant, one engine, but they can carry over 24,000 containers. So if we divide one pollutant by 24,000, the pollution per container has dropped. It has been reduced a lot. Yeah? So in that way, ship has the best, the least pollutant is compared at per container basis. Unfortunately, the ship can't be moved now. We are stuck because of problems. Yeah? Okay, let's not talk about cargo going to Europe, because if they cannot go through the Suez now, they can bypass through the Cape of Good Hope, all around the African continent, all the way to Europe. Yeah? But going to UAE, Jabal Ali, Dubai, you just can't move because they are located in the Gulf. Yeah? And right now, Iran already closed the state, and 2 days ago, Trump also closing the state. Yeah? So now there's no cargo can move to Dubai. Okay. Countries like Qatar and Bahrain, they don't grow their own food. They are basically net importer of food. Yeah? So by not having this ship arriving, they are deprived from those very basic. So how do we do this? So we need to find a way how to move the cargo from ship to by land. So next. So if you use the air is expensive. Let me give you an example. One freighter, air freighter, can carry only 100 tons of cargo. 100 tons, if you divide it by the number of containers, is only 5 containers. Because one container can carry maximum of 20 tons. Yeah? So basically, 5 containers per air freight. So if we do the same calculation, one engine, basically air freight has 4 robots engine, divided by 5 containers, so the pollutant per container is very high. Compared to ships, you can divide by 25,000. Yeah? So air is not the answer. So the answer is basically rail. Yeah? We in Malaysia now, we have a connection all the way to Europe by rail. We already have that connectivity. We have one inland port in Perlis inland port is the rail hub, crossing border from Malaysia to Thailand. Okay? So by crossing that, we have 2 options. One by road in what we call Bukit Gelintang, another one in Padang by rail. So by road, the capacity of rail is about 60 wagons. 60 wagons is like 120 containers. So if you pull it by road, you need 120 prime movers, 150 trucks to move. But if you use the rail, you can carry 120 per locomotive. So same equation, locomotive divided by 120, you can save a lot. So in terms of rail, this is the best for the movement. Yeah? So let me finish with this. We already connect the rail to Laos, to China, Kunming, to Xi'an. Yeah? At Xi'an is a junction to the east, we go to back to China, to the West, we go all the way to Portos in Kazakhstan, middle corridor, all the Kazakhstan countries, and then we can go all the way to Europe. Yeah? So if we want to go to Middle East, from Kazakhstan, we have to go south via Kyrgyzstan, via Uzbekistan, via Turkmenistan. We can go all the way to Iran or Middle East. Yeah? So that's the connectivity now. Going that way. Yeah? So moving on. So basically, there's a solution to this crisis. You can move the cargo by rail. It's not the best, but it's the least pollution. So, but at the end of the day, the future of logistics lies at this question. It's not about how fast we deliver. Of course, by air and transport, it's the least environmental friendly. It's what kind of system that we are doing. So we already have a connection from Malaysia all the way by road, by land. And this is part of the Belt and Road, the Silk Road, if I might say. It's already done. We already have that now. So if the first mile build economies, the last mile define our humanity. So with that, I thank you all for this. Thank you very much. Do you have questions? I just to answer them.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Faiz. If you have any questions from the floor, you're welcome to ask.
Yeah, I have a question. Two questions. Question one is about drone, because the last mile, as you can see, in certain areas of the country use drone to deliver whatever. So what do you think about technology like drone, the potential to solve that last mile? Is one question. Number two, in terms of Malaysia, being a strategic location, having the Straits of Malacca, we have not conquered ourselves as a maritime competency. Because we have a lot of talented people, fresh graduates, but how come we never go into maritime to be part of our global supply chain? That's my second question.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the note. Very valid question. Yeah? First and foremost is growth. Okay. Again, growth is basically the IR 4.0. So basically it's automation and it removes human from this business. So drone, we can actually work side by side with human and drone. So we find the thing that human is very hard to do. More it is dangerous to use drone. You have to use drone. For example, there has been tests that sending cargo to ship and anchor at water. Anchor is in the middle of the sea. So we say it's on road. So it's easier to send. And if it's in the rural area, so we can also use drone because there's no Grab rider moving. So we need to use drone. So again, drone is here to stay. We welcome that, but we need to intertwine it with humans. Okay, which leads me to the second question. Selat Malacca. You are very right because Selat Malacca is actually more the percentage of ships that move Selat Malacca is more than almost. Almost is only 20%. Only 20%. Selat Malacca is 35% of global. So if anything happens to Selat Malacca, more. So we understand this. We understand this point of view. There need to be an alternative for sea. So that's why we develop this rail business going all the way to Europe. So if anything happens, if one day you want to find problem in Southeast Asia, they block the state of Malacca, we have this alternative. If one day they want to go to find problem with Taiwan, so there's a problem in that sea, South China Sea, we have this option. Having said that, we also want the maritime to go to the next level. Yes, we are actually doing it as ASEAN, and Singapore is leading the way. So Malaysia has now increased the number of vessels that is registered in Malaysia. So is and also Malaysia is part of the 25 security council in the International Maritime Organization. And also, we are trying to push ourselves. I hope that I answered the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Faiz. I would like to call Dr. Delhana to